Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to the January 16th Economic Development Authority. We have a long day today. We are going to try to move through the agenda somewhat rapidly and then go into our retreat. We do have a new board member that we will announce should he arrive a little later. Also would like to recognize our world traveler, Commissioner Brown. I think were you in Morocco?
Morocco and Dominican Republic.
Wow.
That's what you know.
I had a chance to, I was on Facebook and his name came up and I looked at it, I said, "Man, you just look happy. I can see that." It is, baby. It was very impressive. I'd love to hear a little bit more about it if you get a chance. Given that, we'll go through the roll call.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Barber.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Here.
Mrs. Smith is absent. Ms. Boone is absent, and Mr. James is not. Chair, we do have a quorum.
Great. Sure, everyone has looked at the December 19th meetings. If there are no changes or revisions, I move for adoption.
Second.
And make sure I have the second. There was Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
I will read the roll. Mr. Barber.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Saunders Smith.
Yes.
Smith is absent. Ms. Boone is absent, and Mr. James is absent. Chair, the minutes are adopted by a vote of 4-0.
This time we will review our financials with the quarterly financial report followed by an audit presentation.
Good morning.
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 Okay, this is my turn. So I'll be presenting financials for EDA for the month, second quarter ending December 31st, 2023. So what we have here is a net statement position, which is same as equivalent to balance sheet report. This report shows the wealth of the EDA and it's with cumulative data. So the first column is this is comparable to last year and in June 30th, 2023. So the first column is last year. The second column is December 31st, 2023, which is the second quarter, because we're in fiscal year. So based on the data, the current asset is 8.1 million or 445,000 less than last year. And receivable are 1.7 million and total current assets are 9.884 or 455,000 less than last year. Also, we have land, which is hotel land air rights, 1.2 million. We don't have any changes since it's been 5 years now. Total assets, which includes property held for sale, which is available to be sold. That's the biggest activity for EDA, is 13.2 million. Overall, total assets is 24.3 million or 20,000 less than last year. So if you see this cash available, just to make it clear, is 8.1 million. And this below is the liabilities, for current liabilities, go again to the first page. Yeah, 650,000 and total net position is 21.9 million. Liability plus net position is 24.3 million. The second page is only this year activity, which is operating income activity, the second page. Yeah, this is the one. This shows only this year's activity. And total operating revenue is 205,000. And total operating expenses are 170. Overall operating income is $35,000. Then we have below, we have non-operating revenue and expenses, and overall, I believe is close to 80,000 loss. You can go all the way to the bottom of this page. Okay. So the change in net position, that's the number that represents this year's activity, which is close to $80,000. Then the the next page. Yeah, this is. Yeah, so this is year-to-date budget report. If you zoom a bit, so we can see. But still, you have, each one of you has a report on your hand. So this is year-to-date budget. It's just the activity for this year only. And based on this is that, so far we have 310,000 total revenue. 100,000 from this are from given of some assets. And total expenses are 389 overall, 80,000 is on loss. The next page should be, this is the property given to EDA. On the next page, it will be total property held for sale, which is 13.2 million. And towards the bottom, you'll see two properties that were acquired this year. Property one, sorry, let me see, 1609 High Street and 3479 Greenwood Drive. So overall, that available for business is 13.2 million. And the next page, it is grants. It's small. Next time we'll make sure this gets printed right. It's grants. And in this page, Brian might know better than this. It says funding amount approved and what's distributed. Same, the next page. So I don't have anything else. And then there's not much going on except for acquiring those two property units this year. So this is what I have for December 30th. Sir.
Lease payments from the hotel,
Yeah, they're made on time. They do have 1 month, but that's not critical.
I have a question. You said something, the capital asset for the land for the hotel hasn't changed in 5 years?
It's that our airline is the land. It's been not by year, been even more since it was acquired. No changes. It's
No
1.
appreciation, no change
No,
whatsoever.
we don't depreciate land, only buildings. It's 1.2 million. It's in the first page. That's in the first page number. If you go to the first page, it's 1.2 million there under land. So land is just there. And Brian might know better about this land. It's 1.2 million. There was an agreement back since. But for sure, it's five since I've been here. That's for sure didn't change it.
I was just curious, why didn't it change to it?
It just a DDA owns it, and it's 1.2 million.
Okay.
That's it. Now, we have auditors in-house that will be presenting the financial for last year, fiscal year 2023. That will be presented with audited numbers. We already presented the June 30th, 2023 numbers, but auditors have more in their perspective, what's going on, or you can do the numbers.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for having us. My name's Sherry Amos. I'm a principal with CLA. I am joined with Eris Wright, manager, and Max Paffenberger, senior, who helped out on the audit to help present the fiscal year June 30, 2023 audit results. Currently, the audit's in our internal review process. We're hoping to have that complete this week. We do have multiple layers of QC or quality control processes internally to ensure that the quality of our work. So we're finishing up this week. But I am happy to report that the financial statements for June 30, 2023 will have an unmodified audit opinion. That is a clean or a good audit opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we as auditors can provide over your financial information that's presented by management. So overall, I think that's a great testament to everybody that works on putting this information together throughout the year, that's making sure that the records are accurate to be presented to you on a quarterly basis. You can have faith that what they're providing is good numbers throughout the year. As part of our audit, we did not have any uncorrected or corrected misstatements to any of the numbers that were presented by management. And we also had no findings as part of the audit either, so which is another good report to provide today as well. There was one new accounting standard that we had to take into consideration this year. It was GASB Statement 96. This is related to subscription-based technology arrangements. If the EDA were to, by chance, get into contracts for subscription-based technology, we would have to report that in the financial information. Management did a deep dive of the contracts for the EDA and determined that no such contracts existed. So there ended up not being an impact to the EDA's financial statements this year for that standard. But it'll be something that management will have to continue to evaluate every year in case going forward you would happen to get into any of those contracts related to the EDA. So with that, the financial statements should be very consistent with the statements that you saw last year in terms of the notes, the disclosures and all of that should be very consistent, as there was nothing really new that impacted the EDA for the current year. I do like to mention that there is one estimate in the financial statements related to the land held for sale. The best value that we have is the purchase price for that land, but obviously if you were to sell it, that could be a different value than what is on the books currently, depending on the time and the circumstances of the sale, if that were to occur. And really, overall, we really didn't have any difficulties at all with the audit. Everybody was very responsive when we had questions, when we needed information. So we're very thankful for everybody's support throughout the audit process. And with that, I will entertain any questions you might have.
I'm not familiar with the term subscription-based technology. Exactly what is that?
So that is if you were, for example, to get into a lot of the cloud-based technology. So for example, if your accounting system was a cloud-based technology where you're basically leasing the right to use their software, that would be a subscription-based contract. Did I answer your question? Is that?
Yes, thank you.
There's a lot of nuances with this, the standard that, you know, you have to meet certain criteria depending on the length of the contracts, the type of contracts, and what it's used for it to meet the criteria. It's pretty involved criteria that it has to meet in accordance with the standard. So.
Yeah, the question is pretty clean, so there's not a lot of questions here, which is good.
That's what we should be looking for every year.
Any action needed?
I don't believe we need any formal action. In fact, this is a draft version of the audit. Ms. Barisha has informed us that there was a final version that following this meeting would be prepared and
Yes.
I guess would be put to record, but I don't believe we need any formal action of the.
Not at this time. Traditionally, we would approve the audit, but not at this meeting, once it's final.
There are no additional questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you all.
We will move toward old business at this point.
Provide Nala just a minute to change out the presentation here. And we do have a number of old business items. I'm going to try to keep this brief. I know we're looking at a 10 o'clock start for the retreat, but we do have a few property updates that we wanted to provide to the board. The first is 301 Columbia Street. We have previously been entertaining an offer from Eagle Security Solutions for the acquisition of this property. And we were working to get under contract with them. We were trying to make that happen by the end of the calendar year, which is something that they had expressed a desire to make happen. However, they have decided not to move forward with the purchase of the property based on conversations with our broker and theirs. It appears that as they've gotten into the Find details of some of the renovation expenses associated with the property. It was no longer feasible and of interest for them to move forward. So the contract has not been executed, and at this point in time, they've decided not to move forward. So this is back on the market. We are looking at some other options potentially for the property, but did want to let you know that that had fallen through. We were, I know, working to make that happen by the end of the year, and they decided not to move forward. Be happy to answer any questions you may have about the property.
Did they give you any indication as to why was it construction cost?
Renovation cost of the interior and some exterior improvements for the building. I think they were looking at a potential roof replacement. When they originally looked at it, I don't think that was under consideration. And certainly there's a considerable amount of work that needs to happen inside. It is an older property. It really hasn't had any modernization or improvements over the years. So there's a lot of work that has to be done. Bringing restrooms up to ADA requirements and so forth. So I think as they got further into it, the expense increased.
What's the acreage there?
It's not a lot. So the square footage of the building is just shy of 6,000 square feet, and I would imagine that the property in total is probably in the 10,000 square foot range. About close to a quarter of an acre, maybe. 1220 High Street. This is the former Enterprise car rental location within the Innovation District. I believe you all are aware we are under contract for the acquisition of this property. We have been working through the due diligence process. Jeff Miller in the city attorney's office has done some research on title. We've identified a couple minor things that I think we're able to work through and deal with. We've also had some environmental reports prepared. We had an environmental site assessment prepared, and it did identify this property as having a past use as an auto service center. And some of the adjacent properties, there's some concerns about potential environmental issues. So we have ordered a second study to be performed. That's a phase 2 environmental study. And that is underway as we speak right now. The contract did provide for due diligence through mid-January. However, because of the additional environmental research that needs to be done, we've extended that, and that's now been extended through March 15th to provide time for those additional reports to come in and for us to consider how we'd like to proceed. But, we are under contract, and again, that's extended through March 15th.
On our larger parcel that we own, is it worth doing those kind of studies if there's any ground issues? I know traditionally we have not done that, but I'm just wondering, since we've been kind of caught off with CSX and a couple of other things, should we maybe go back and take a fresh look at some of the larger pieces that we have?
From an environmental standpoint, when we have time, we typically will have a environmental report, at least an inspection at a minimum performed. In all cases, that isn't possible where, maybe we're acquiring it at auction.
Right.
In that scenario, we really wouldn't have time for the due diligence, but I believe the majority of the properties, as we're acquiring that, we're pursuing, and we're able to build that into a contract. We do have that work performed. I think in the case of the former Mary Jane property at 1021 High Street, we got that at an auction, and not sure we had the time to do that due diligence there. But we certainly, if possible, try to do that on the front end so we know what it is we're acquiring, both from a title standpoint and also environmental. And if Jeff, if you have anything you'd like to add from a legal standpoint, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I don't know that.
1117 High Street. This is the location of what was Shiny Computers. We did want to provide you an update. They have vacated the property. You are aware their lease was on a month to month, and they have closed. They did vacate the premises at the end of November, so the property has been returned back to EDA's possession. We performed an inspection. It was clear and free of any of their items. So we do have that property, and are beginning to look at marketing that for potential future use. We are in need of replacing the roof there before we can do that. And we are working with Mosley Architects on the bid documents right now for putting that work out to bid. As part of that package, we're also looking at the adjacent structure 1121 High Street, which we do have a tenant in that portion of the property right now. But that roof is also in need of replacement, probably not quite as bad as 1117. So we're going to have that package prepared as well, and would intend to put out both of those together for bid, and have it kind of as an added alternate bid, so that if the pricing comes back and you'd like to move forward with both replacements, we could do that at the same time, or we can do them individually as the financials allow for us. So that is underway, and we'll continue to provide an update. I would expect that within the quarter we would have a package to put out on the street for bid roof replacement. And then the next item is 1021 1107 High Street, and this is the former Mary Jane Bakery site, which is currently under contract with A4 Development Group for the townhome project. We discussed this at your December meeting. The development agreement is scheduled to expire on January 19th. In terms of updates, Mr. Keel's engineer, Jack Claude with Hoggard Dorn Associates, is here. I do believe they've got an update on the status of the site plan submittal. Mr. Claude, would you like to provide that?
Sure. The site plan was resubmitted to engineering for review on Friday. We're standing by waiting for comments. If y'all have any further questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Jack and myself did meet with the planning department, engineering department, so they are going to be reviewing the plans. I do believe everybody is aware. If you weren't at the last meeting, there is an issue with a portion of the property that has you can see here highlighted in yellow, a piece of CSX rail line right of way that has been identified that needs to be addressed, and they will be continuing with the review of the site plan while we work to resolve this issue, but we would not be able to move forward with the closing until that item is addressed. So it does appear that additional time would be necessary to work through that process, and we feel is warranted. That being said, we would need an extension if the EDA desires to go in that direction.
I move for a 6-month statute.
Jeff, do you want to read the resolution? Did you all receive this as part of your package?
The resolution was not in the package, but it has been distributed.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to read the resolution. Whereas pursuant to resolution adopted on March 16, 2021, EDA entered into a purchase and sale agreement with A4 Development Group LLC for the construction of a townhome development at 1021 High Street and 1107 High Street. Whereas by resolution adopted on June 27, 2022, the board authorized the extension of permitting period under the agreement until January 20, 2023. And whereas by resolution adopted on January 17, 2023, board authorized the extension of the permitting period under the agreement until July 20, 2023. And whereas per resolution adopted on July 18, 2023, board authorized the extension of the permitting period under the agreement until January 19, 2024. Whereas city council approved an amended use permit on May 23, 2023. Whereas developers requested to extend the permitting period expiration date for 6 months. the new expiration date being July 19th, 2024. Whereas it is in the interest of both parties to allow the developer additional time to attempt to complete the permitting process for development, as well as to resolve a title concern that has arisen. Now therefore is hereby resolved that the amendment of the agreement to extend the permitting period through July 19, 2024, together with such minor additional amendments as may be required to conform the agreement to the new expiration date, is hereby approved. The amendment shall provide the developer shall have no right to extend the permitting period beyond July 19, 2024, without the consent of the EDA Board of Commissioners and its sole discretion. The amendment shall further require the developer to provide an additional deposit of $25,000, which additional deposit shall be applied to the purchase price at closing, but shall otherwise be non-refundable, except in the event breached by EDA. 2, the chair and vice chair are each authorized to execute an amendment to the agreement in accordance with the intent of this resolution. 3, this resolution should be effective immediately upon its adoption.
So second. Thank you, Mr. Barber. Is there any discussion?
I just have one question. When you said you resubmitted, is that based on the comments that you received?
Yes, sir. We have addressed all the comments that we have received, retooled the plan and then resubmitted it for further review.
And do you know how many comments you received, the total number of it?
I do not. If I had to guess, I'd say 40, but
Okay. And what's the normal turnaround time on something like that?
30 days.
30 days. Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll read the roll. Mr. Barber. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Saunders Smith.
Yeah.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Boone.
Yes.
Mr. James is absent. Chair, the item is approved by a vote of 6-0. Thank you. Moving on to new business, we did have just one item, and this is really a reminder. You should have received an email from the city clerk as it relates to your annual economic interest disclosure statement, which is due to the city clerk on February 1st. That is due as a hard copy to be delivered to the city clerk's office. If you have not received that email, please let staff know, and we would be happy to make sure you do receive that. But it is critical that you do return that to the city clerk by February 1st. I do believe there is a fine associated with it. If you miss that deadline, it's $250 is what Vice Chair Barber has shared with us. So I don't think you want to miss that. But again, if you did not get that, please let us know and make sure that you do receive it. Chair, we have no items for closed meeting today.
Can you give us a quick update on the pop-up? How many people have expressed interest in product?
Actually, I'm going to ask Ms. Bailey to provide an update on the pop-up retail shop Blue Market. Could you give us an update?
Good morning. So the application for Bloom Market opened on January 1st. Today we don't have a count of applications that have come in. But the application will close on January 31st, and then we will do a review process of all the applicants to choose point participants.
I think we're looking at what type of time frame, Autumn, for that to actually be up and running with the
We're hoping for the first week of March.
Do we have the drawing in terms of what the interiors look like?
Not yet. Okay. No. So the marketing has gone out. The website is live. Application is so they've completed the marketing plan. So they're moving forward with advertising, social media, and through our website and Bloom's website. We haven't received the drawings just yet, but that is planned to be completed before the first, by the last week of February.
Got a really nice amount of coverage in the press. last month. Excuse me, which, I think helped with the interest. I think there were a lot of inquiries that came as a result of that directly, to Bloom. And, I think they received a number of applications. I couldn't give you an exact count at this point, but, again, that will run to the end of, January, excuse me. Any additional items to be submitted by, the board? Okay. In terms of report backs, I did have one item, at the December meeting. Vice Chair Barber had asked for a, breakdown of, EDA, sales, and we do have a listing of the properties and the developers of those, properties. And what I'd like to do is, if I can hold this until we move on to the retreat and include that in the minority participation portion. I do have a listing of the property sales that I think would be helpful. And Chair, that concludes our report backs. I do not have any other items for discussion. We're a little bit ahead of schedule this morning, which is good.
Works for me.
I will conclude our morning meeting. Let's take a few minutes, 5-minute break or so, and then we'll get started on the retreat.